An old man who had been single for 60 years was digging his own grave, planning to end it all. But instead, he dug up a 50-pound nugget of raw gold, enough to marry a dozen wives in his town. Just imagining a future filled with kids and grandkids, Mark couldn't stop smiling. But on his way home, he ran into a group of Nazi soldiers escorting Finnish prisoners. One of the soldiers raised his gun to shoot him, but the officer stopped him.
He's riding to his death anyway.
Whistled, and told the convoy to move on. Mark had just dodged death. He looked up and saw villagers hanging from the poles, killed by Nazis. He knew the road home would be dangerous. And sure enough, a second group of soldiers blocked his path. From his gear, they figured out he was a gold prospector, and started searching him. It didn't take long for them to find the gold.
Take a look at this!
Mark bent down, and whispered for his dog to run. The soldiers fired at the dog, but it pulled off some slick zigzag moves, and escaped.
Get down on your knees, Grandpa!
Then they raised their guns to execute Mark. He narrowed his eyes and gripped his knife. While they were still celebrating their lucky find, Mark spun around and stabbed one right through the skull. The others froze. Mark didn't. He lunged forward and grabbed a rifle. The Nazis thought he was just an old man with a shovel. They had no idea who they were dealing with. He stabbed another soldier through the chest. Then one of them opened fire. Mark grabbed the dead guy's body and used it as a shield, bullets thudding into flesh. He kicked the shooter to the ground, grabbed a helmet, and smashed it into his skull until his brains spilled out. Then in close combat, he grabbed a gun and blew the last soldier's head clean off. The story begins with Mark the dog butcher dragging home a puppy he had just slaughtered. He parked his motorcycle by the pond and bent down to wash his hands. But what he didn't expect was that the dead puppy suddenly came back to life. Its glowing red eyes stared right at him. Mark felt a chill run down his spine. He spun around in fear, but saw nothing there. The next second, a ghostly hand yanked his head into the water, and within moments, he was drowned to death. But the weirdest part, even on the day of his funeral, Mark's body refused to shut its eyes. The villagers all said he couldn't rest in peace because he never got to see his son one last time. Just then, his son Tony finally arrived from the city with his girlfriend Anna. Tony leaned over and gently closed his father's eyes, but the moment he did, they suddenly popped open again, and blood began pouring out from every hole on his face. Everyone at the funeral was terrified. They said it was a bad omen, and decided to move the body into the coffin right away. But that's when Tony noticed there was a strange bite mark on his father's neck. Still, he didn't think too much of it. Later that night, he returned home with Anna, but as soon as they walked in, he heard Anna scream behind him. She said she saw Mark, the man who just died, standing behind the curtain, staring right at her. But when she looked again, he was gone. She thought maybe she imagined it, so she didn't tell Tony what really happened.